And I would just recommend to families, if you're thinking about it, if you're noticing things and you want, you just reach out and have a conversation, because it just starts with a conversation. And our collective goal should be, how are we helping kids more generally and young people more generally thrive in the community? And if you take a step back, I mean, this is true definitely in the Bay Area. It's true. I think, it's actually true internationally. We're in this moment where we've talked about the, youth mental health crisis, and we've seen rising numbers of needs as it relates to mental health. And beyond that, we're seeing rising needs to young people, and some of their difficulties as they're transitioning into college or transitioning into the workplace. And I think it's a moment for all of us to step back and say, how do we help young people thrive, and what are how do we define success, and what's it mean to help all people develop into people that are finding a level of joy in life and connection and community, and what's the path to get there. So there's also this collective moment where I think conversations, you're not alone, is what I would tell people. You're not alone. I think all of us are feeling a certain level of tension, and the more we can have conversations about that, the more we can kind of evaluate how we're designing our communities and our systems are just going to benefit all of us.
Yes, I completely agree. Because we are on an age where the next generations are going to have a worse outcome than we had, right? Compared to our fathers, right? Our parents. So that's a challenge, and that means that families are struggling more to figure things out, right? And being able to raise kids that are self-sufficient, that have a strong sense of values, that can make good decisions, so they can, even with the current challenges, that they can thrive. I think that becomes much more important.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you said that really well. I agree.
Yes, and the more involved we are as parents with our kids, the better, because that's one of the most significant changes we can do with our kids, and they can thrive in any metrics you can put in front, right? And at the end of the day, it's their journey, but we can support it that way.
I like the way you said, we could support it, because I think that's, it's the key role of parents. And again, with my own kids, I struggle with this. And I think when I'm talking to other parents, I can say it much more cleanly, but our role is a support, right? Obviously we create boundaries and limits, and we try to teach within a context, but also you want your kids to find what their path is, what their passion is. And I think it's the nuance of, we want to hold high expectations for kids, but you also don't want to create a circumstance where we're defined by perfectionism. And perfectionism is this idea of, there's only one outcome that is true success. And there's a sense of feeling like, if you do not achieve this, then you're letting folks down, you've failed, and there can be really negative outcomes to that. Different than, helping a young person have high expectations and work towards the goals that they want to work towards. And it can be a really nuanced thing. And I think it's something that we have to be mindful of as we're thinking, not just our direct work with our own kids, but how we're designing communities, how we're designing schools, how we're designing, the youth sports and things kids engage with. How do you teach a culture of hard work and working towards your goals without sort of saying this is the singular point of overall achievement that can actually have negative outcomes?